Let me tell you something that might hit you harder than any betrayal ever could. Right now, at this very moment, someone might be stealing your life force and you don't even realize it. Not your money, not your time, but your energy. That sacred fire inside of you, the glow in your eyes, the peace in your spirit. They don't come with weapons, they come with smiles, sweet words, fake concern. And while they pretend to care, they're draining you slowly, silently, systematically. You ever feel like you wake up more tired than when you went to sleep? Like you're doing everything right, but something invisible is pulling you down? That's not in your head. That's real. Because energy vampires exist. People who feed off your light just to survive their own darkness. And they'll take until there's nothing left of you but an empty shell of who you used to be. This is not a speech, it's a wake-up call. Because if you don't protect your energy, you lose your power. And when you lose your power, you lose your purpose. And when you lose your purpose, you lose your life. So now, listen closely. It's time to rise up and fight for your soul. You ever walk into a room and the second someone speaks, your whole spirit sinks? It's like the air gets heavier, your chest tightens, and you don't even know why. That right there, that's an energy drainer. Not someone having a bad day. No, I'm talking about people who make it a lifestyle. Folks who carry chaos like perfume and they spray it on everyone they meet. And if you're not careful, they'll label their dysfunction as your responsibility. They'll wrap it in friendship and love and blood ties, and before you know it, you're emotionally bankrupt while they're walking away full. Recognizing these people is not about hate. It's about survival. Because energy drainers don't need to curse you. All they need is your attention, your time, and your kindness. And they'll turn those gifts into chains. Some people only feel alive when someone else is struggling. They stir the pot and call it connection. They confuse closeness with control. You'll notice it in the way your mood shifts around them, the way your voice changes, the way your smile fades. That's your body speaking, telling you the truth your heart doesn't want to hear. Your body never lies. Your energy is your first language. And energy drainers are fluent in manipulation. They'll say the right things, but something inside you always feels off. You leave conversations feeling smaller, questioning your worth, apologizing for things you never did. That's not normal. That's not love. That's theft. And if you keep justifying it, they'll keep feeding off you until there's nothing left but regret and silence. You ever notice how some people always need something? Your help, your advice, your time, your presence. But when you're down, they vanish. No return calls, no check-ins, just silence. But the moment they need you again, boom, they're back like nothing happened. That's not a coincidence, that's a pattern. Energy drainers operate on cycles. They watch you rise just so they can pull you down and act like they're lifting you up. You have to learn the difference between someone who's in pain and someone who is pain. There's a difference between people who occasionally fall and those who choose to live in the dirt and drag others into it. Don't let empathy blind you to toxicity. Compassion should never come at the cost of your peace. There are folks who disguise their drain with jokes. They'll laugh at your dreams, mock your goals, throw little jabs disguised as just kidding, but deep down, you feel the sting. That's not support, that's sabotage. And the worst part, you'll second guess yourself. You'll wonder, am I too sensitive? No, you're not. You're just awake. Awake enough to realize that some people use humor as a weapon and sarcasm as a mask. They can't celebrate you because your shine reminds them of their shadows. Recognize this. If someone's words consistently make you doubt your value, they're draining you. Not with fire, not with rage, but with poison disguised as friendship. That's the most dangerous kind. And then there are the constant victims. People who are always at war with the world, always going through something, always pulling you into their latest crisis. Every time you try to breathe, they come crashing in with another problem. And listen, it's okay to help people. We all go through storms. But when you become their emotional sponge, soaking up every drop of their chaos, your spirit gets heavy. You start carrying battles that aren't yours. That's not love. That's emotional hostage taking. And some of these people don't want solutions, they want spectators. They want someone to sit in the dark with them because they're afraid to walk toward the light. Don't let their fear become your cage. You'll meet folks who wear the mask of mentors, friends, even partners, but their energy feels like a leash. They applaud you as long as you stay beneath them. But the moment you grow, evolve, rise, they start acting distant, cold, critical. That's because they were never clapping for you, they were clapping for control. Pay attention to who grows quiet when you get loud, who vanishes when you succeed, who undermines your progress with advice that feels more like doubt. That's not guidance, that's sabotage. Some people only feel powerful when they're needed, and when you no longer need them, their true colors show. Recognizing energy drainers means looking past the surface and trusting your gut, even when it breaks your heart. What's wild is that energy drainers aren't always loud, some are subtle. Quiet, they sit in the back and play the long game. They don't argue, they sulk. They don't confront, they guilt trip. You try to share good news and they hit you with silence, or worse, must be nice. That passive aggression, that's not harmless, it's emotional corrosion. It's a way to make you shrink so they don't have to grow. It's how small minds try to level the playing field, by pulling greatness down to their level instead of rising. And if you don't recognize it for what it is, you'll find yourself dimming your light just to keep the peace. That's not peace. That's self-abandonment. Energy drainers feed off your reactions. The more you explain, the more they twist. The more you defend yourself, the more they distort your words. You'll start rehearsing conversations in your head before you even speak. You'll tiptoe, walk on eggshells, avoid eye contact, all in the name of keeping the relationship. That's not connection, that's imprisonment. A real connection doesn't require you to shrink, silence, or second guess yourself. When you recognize this pattern, you got to make a choice. Peace or pleasing. You can't have both. And the day you choose peace, that's the day the energy thieves lose access to your soul. Some of the deepest energy drainers? Family. Yeah, I said it. The ones you've known your whole life, the ones you feel obligated to because of blood. But hear me. Blood makes you related, not loyal. Some people hide behind the word family just to keep hurting you, just to keep their hands on your life without ever earning that privilege. You're allowed to love people from a distance. You're allowed to outgrow people, even if they raised you, even if they share your DNA. If someone is consistently draining your peace, robbing your joy, and disrespecting your boundaries, they're a threat to your life force. And your soul is not a sacrifice. Even for family. You've got to start paying attention to how you feel after every interaction. If you leave a conversation feeling anxious, confused, belittled, or small, that's not your fault. That's feedback. That's your energy telling you the truth. Recognizing energy drainers doesn't make you cruel, it makes you conscious. It's not judgment, it's self-preservation. You can love people and still not give them access to your mind, your heart, your time, because the most precious thing you own is your energy. You can make back money, you can rebuild broken things, but when your energy's gone, so is your light. And this world doesn't need another tired, dimmed soul. It needs you, fully charged, aware, and protected. Recognize the drainers before they redefine your destiny. You know, there comes a point in your life when you have to look at everything and everyone around you and ask yourself, is this feeding me or is this bleeding me? And the moment you ask that question, honestly, things start to shift because you begin to realize that not everyone who has access to you deserves it. You see, your energy is currency. Your time is sacred. Your peace is not up for negotiation. But most of us, we've been taught to give and give, to please everyone, to bend, to accommodate, to keep the peace even when it's eating us alive. And we mistake being agreeable for being kind. But that's not kindness. That's self-erasure. That's the slow death of your own soul for the comfort of others. And if you keep doing that, you'll wake up one day surrounded by people who benefit from your boundaries being weak, and none of them will know the real you. That's why boundaries aren't just protection. Boundaries are revelation. They reveal who values you and who values what they can take from you. You have to understand that boundaries aren't walls. They're doors. Doors with locks. Doors with keys that you control, and not everyone should get a spare. Because when you let anyone in, they'll rearrange the furniture of your soul. They'll leave muddy footprints on your peace. They'll sleep in your spirit and never pay rent. And when you try to take the keys back, they'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed, but listen to me. That's not selfish, that's survival. That's choosing to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. You see, when you don't have boundaries, people treat you like an unlimited resource. And you start treating yourself that way too. You answer calls when your soul is tired. You show up when your heart is broken. You give when you have nothing left. And the truth is, people will applaud you for it. They'll call you dependable, but inside you'll feel hollow. That hollowness is your soul crying out for boundaries. People confuse love with access. They think just because they love you, they have a right to all of you, your time, your space, your energy. But love without respect is control. Love without boundaries is manipulation. And some people don't want to love you, they want to use you. They want your presence when they're lonely, your help when they're drowning, your light when they're in darkness, but they don't want your truth. They don't want your no. They don't want your limits. And when you start building those limits, when you start saying, I can't do that today, or I need space, or that doesn't work for me, you'll watch them squirm. You'll watch them act like you've betrayed them. But what you're really doing is reclaiming yourself. You're standing up for the version of you that's been silenced for too long, that inner voice that's been whispering, I'm tired, I need rest, I need peace. Boundaries are how you answer that voice. Boundaries are how you start loving yourself out loud. Some people will test your boundaries, not because they don't understand them, but because they're hoping you don't enforce them. They're watching to see if your no is real, or if it's just a pause before your usual yes. And that's where the power lies, not in setting the boundary, but in keeping it when it's tested. Because let's be real, it's easy to talk about self-respect, but it's hard when you have to enforce it with people you care about. It's hard to say no to your family when they've always expected you to say yes. It's hard to tell a friend you can't be their emotional crutch anymore. It's hard to tell a partner that your needs matter too. But that hardness, that resistance, that's the threshold of freedom. Every time you uphold your boundary, you strengthen your soul. You remind yourself that your well-being matters. You tell the world that your energy is not a public utility. You stop being a doormat and start being a door, one that only opens for truth, respect, and love. There's this lie people love to tell, that if you have boundaries, you're cold, you're distant, you don't care. But let me tell you something. The most loving people I know have the strongest boundaries, because they know how dangerous it is to love without limits. They know how easily love can become martyrdom. They know that giving too much of yourself too often to the wrong people can leave you empty and bitter. So they guard their energy like it's holy, because it is. They say no with compassion. They take space without guilt. They rest without apology. And in doing so, they teach others how to love them in a way that's sustainable. That's real love. Not the kind that demands everything, but the kind that respects everything. And if someone can't handle your boundaries, that's not your problem to fix. That's their discomfort to process. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions about your self-care. It's wild how when you start creating boundaries, you start seeing things you couldn't see before. You start realizing how much of your life was shaped by fear. Fear of being rejected, abandoned, misunderstood. So you gave and gave, hoping that love would keep coming if you just kept sacrificing yourself. But all that did was teach people how to take from you without giving anything back. When you build boundaries, you stop performing, you stop over-explaining, you stop apologizing for being human. And in that silence, in that space, you finally hear your own voice. You hear your needs, your limits, your truth. And maybe it's shaky at first. Maybe your voice trembles. But even a trembling voice is still a powerful one, because it's real. And anything real is worth protecting. That's what boundaries do. They carve out space for the real you to breathe. It's important to remember that boundaries are not about rejection. They're about alignment. You're not pushing people away. You're pulling yourself closer, closer to what matters, closer to what feels right. And yeah, you'll lose some people, but you'll also find peace. You'll find clarity. You'll stop waking up with anxiety in your chest and confusion in your spirit, because your energy will no longer be scattered across the expectations of others. You'll be grounded, whole, present, and people will feel that. They'll see the shift in your eyes, in your posture, in your presence. That's the glow of someone who finally chose themselves. And choosing yourself doesn't mean you don't love others. It means you love yourself too. You're no longer willing to bleed for people who won't even reach out a hand. You're no longer entertaining conversations that drain you. You're no longer available for everything and everyone. And that's not arrogance. That's awareness. When you live without boundaries, your life isn't your own. Your schedule gets filled with other people's emergencies. Your heart gets bruised by other people's dysfunction. Your mind becomes a storage unit for other people's chaos. And you start forgetting who you are beneath it all. You start identifying yourself by what you can give instead of who you are. Boundaries restore that identity. They strip away the noise and bring you back to center. They say, this is where I end, and you begin. And in that clarity, there is freedom. You no longer have to carry everything. You no longer have to fix everyone. You can rest. You can breathe. You can simply be. And that being is sacred. That being is enough. The people who love you will honor your boundaries because they understand that a whole you is better than a worn out version of you. And the ones who don't, they were never truly for you to begin with. Every time you say yes when you mean no, a piece of you disappears. It's subtle. You won't always notice it at first, but over time you'll feel the fatigue, the bitterness, the resentment. That's your spirit waving a white flag. That's your soul asking for protection. And yet we push through. We smile through it. We keep showing up because we don't want to disappoint. But here's the truth. You're not disappointing anyone by honoring your boundaries. You're disappointing the version of yourself that thought self-sacrifice was love. And it's time to let that version go. You don't have to be everything for everyone. You don't have to answer every call, solve every problem, absorb every emotion. You get to choose who you give your energy to. You get to decide who sits at your table. And just because someone wants a seat doesn't mean they deserve one. Sometimes protecting your peace means shrinking your circle. And that's okay. Quality over quantity. Every time. When you start living with boundaries, you stop chasing validation. You stop living for approval. You stop needing people to understand your decisions. Because you know they're rooted in love for yourself, for your purpose, for your peace. And that love becomes your compass. It guides your words, your actions, your silence. You no longer overextend just to prove you're enough. You already know you are. Boundaries are a form of self-respect, and self-respect is magnetic. It draws in people who honor you and repels those who would drain you. So no, you're not too much. You're not too sensitive. You're not selfish. You're just finally awake. And once you're awake, there's no going back. You've seen the cost of living without boundaries. And you've decided that your life, your energy, your soul is too valuable to be on clearance. And from now on, everything must be paid for in full. Respect, truth, and love. Nothing less. There's something sacred about the moments just after you wake up and right before you fall asleep. These are the spaces where your soul whispers to you before the noise of the world can scream its demands. And yet, too many people give those golden hours away without a second thought. They roll over in bed, grab their phones, and invite chaos into their minds before their feet even touch the floor. They go to sleep, scrolling through someone else's life, someone else's problems, someone else's energy, and wonder why they wake up tired, anxious, uninspired. If your morning and night belong to everything and everyone but you, then so does your day. You're giving away your power before you even step into your purpose. You're letting notifications set your priorities, letting social media dictate your mood, letting the world program your mind. But your energy is your responsibility. Your peace is your job to protect. No one will value your time more than you do. That's why guarding your routines isn't about discipline, it's about self-respect. It's about deciding that you are worth a few quiet moments of intention before the world comes knocking. Mornings set the tone. They are the ignition switch to your day. When you start them in a frenzy, you carry that energy with you. You rush through your breakfast, snap at your loved ones, forget what mattered to you, and enter the world already depleted. But when you claim your morning, when you wake up and take a few moments just to breathe, to stretch, to feel gratitude, you shift everything. You're not just getting out of bed, you're stepping into alignment. You're reminding yourself that your life is yours, that your energy doesn't belong to the demands of the outside world until you say so. Even 5 minutes of stillness in the morning can change your entire trajectory. Maybe it's a prayer, a journal entry, a deep breath while looking at the sunrise. It doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be yours. Your morning is your sanctuary. It's where you build the armor you'll need to face the noise of the world. If you don't control your morning, someone else will. And what about your nights? Nights are not just for rest, they're for healing. They are a chance to cleanse your spirit of the weight of the day. But too often we sabotage our own peace. We carry the stress of work into the bedroom. We replay every mistake we made, every conversation we could have handled better. We drown our silence in screens, scrolling until our minds are too tired to think. And then we wonder why But your night routine is not just about falling asleep, it's about letting go. It's about telling your soul you did enough today, you are enough. It's a ritual of release, a moment to decompress. It's where you thank the day for what it gave you and forgive yourself for what you couldn't do. When you end the day with intention, you sleep in peace. And that peace follows you into the next day. But if you end it in chaos, you drag that chaos with you. You don't just wake up tired. You wake up burdened. Guarding your nights is guarding your mental clarity, your emotional strength, your spiritual wholeness. People underestimate the power of small routines. They think if they don't have an hour for meditation or a perfect morning checklist, it's not worth doing. But that's not true. What matters is consistency, not complexity. It's in the small, quiet habits that transformation happens. The way you open your eyes and choose gratitude before anything else. The way you sip your coffee slowly, present, aware, instead of rushing through it. The way you light a candle at night or read a few pages of a book instead of diving into digital noise. These things might seem small, but they are everything. They are declarations. They are you saying, I am not a machine. I am a soul. Your routines reflect what you believe about yourself. If you believe you're worthy of peace, of clarity, of healing, you will build your routines around those truths. And if you don't, the world will decide for you. It will offer you distractions instead of direction, numbness instead of nourishment. But you don't have to accept that. There's a reason why the most successful, grounded people protect their mornings and nights like sacred ground. They know that how you begin and end your day is how you live your life. If your first thoughts are anxious and your last thoughts are exhausted, that becomes your cycle. But if your day begins with presence and ends with peace, your life begins to mirror that. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional, about refusing to let outside noise write your inner script. The truth is your soul craves routine, not rigidity, but rhythm. A rhythm that supports your growth, that nourishes your energy, that reminds you of who you are before the world tells you who to be. So many people walk through life in a fog because they've never had a moment to truly meet themselves. Guarding your routines gives you that moment, that reconnection, that clarity. And in that space, you start to see what needs to stay and what needs to go. Who's pouring into you and who's pulling from you. You start living, not just surviving. Distractions are louder in the morning and even louder at night. That's when your mind is vulnerable. In the morning, you haven't fully awakened yet, so anything you consume gets embedded deeply. And at night, when you're worn out, your filters are down, so negativity slips in more easily. That's why it's crucial to be mindful of what you allow into your mental space during those hours. Avoid waking up to stress. Don't open emails before you've opened your heart. Don't scroll through chaos before you've centered your thoughts. In the same way, don't fall asleep listening to arguments or watching violence on a screen. That energy doesn't just disappear, it follows you into your dreams, into your subconscious. Guard your inputs. Speak kindly to yourself. Speak gently to the people you love. Let your mornings be light and your nights be calm. You deserve that. You deserve to be the first and last voice that shapes your day, not the opinions of strangers, not the weight of the world. When you treat your routines with reverence, your life starts to reflect that reverence. You begin to glow from within. You're not reacting, you're responding. You're not chasing peace, you're creating it. The world may still be chaotic, but you are not, because you've anchored yourself in something deeper. And people will notice. They'll ask what changed. They'll wonder why you seem so grounded, so steady. And the truth is, it's not magic. It's management. It's spiritual management. It's emotional boundaries. It's knowing that your peace is too precious to leave unguarded. When your mornings are sacred, your whole day becomes a continuation of that sacredness. When your nights are peaceful, you carry less weight, and that weightlessness makes room for creativity, for joy, for presence. That's not just routine, that's a lifestyle. A lifestyle of alignment, a lifestyle of intention. We live in a culture that glamorizes hustle and glorifies exhaustion. But what's the point of success if you're too burned out to enjoy it? What's the point of reaching goals if your spirit is too tired to celebrate? Guarding your routines is how you fight back against the lie that your worth is based on how busy you are. It's how you tell the world, I am more than my productivity. It's how you tell yourself, I deserve care too. That care doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be a prayer, a slow walk, silence, stillness, a moment to reflect on what you're grateful for, even if it's just being alive. That kind of care adds up. It reshapes your nervous system. It rewires your thoughts. It creates a baseline of peace so that when chaos comes, and it will, you have something steady to return to. Your routines become your refuge. And in a world that tries to keep you spinning, a place of refuge is everything. It's easy to say, I don't have time for routines, but the truth is, you make time for what you value. And if you don't value your peace, no one else will. If you don't value your energy, it will be spent for you. There's no magic number. 10 minutes of presence is better than an hour of mindless activity. You don't need perfection. You need permission. Permission to pause, to breathe, to reset. You need to know that it's okay to step away from the world and into yourself. That it's okay to not be available all the time, that your phone can wait, that your to-do list can wait, but your soul, it can't wait anymore. It's been asking for space, asking for quiet, asking for care. So give it that. Make it non-negotiable. Make your morning and night routines your sacred time, because in that space, you're not just preparing for the day or recovering from it. You're building the life you were meant to live. And maybe it feels strange at first. Maybe sitting in silence makes you uncomfortable. Maybe not checking your phone feels like withdrawal. That's normal. We've been trained to feel every moment. But healing happens in stillness. Growth happens in space. Insight happens in quiet. When you guard your routines, you're choosing not to numb anymore. You're choosing not to distract yourself from yourself. You're choosing to feel, to heal, to awaken. And that choice is the beginning of everything. Because once you realize how powerful your energy is, how sacred your time is, you'll never give it away so freely again. You'll guard it like gold, because it is. And your mornings and nights are the vaults that protect that gold. Start today. Wake up with intention, sleep with peace, and everything in between will begin to change. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You chose you. And that choice will echo through every part of your life. Some people don't love you, they just love what they can get from you. And the moment you try to set a boundary, they don't react with understanding. They react with guilt. Not their own guilt, but the guilt they throw onto your shoulders like a heavy coat you didn't ask to wear. These are guilt manipulators. People who twist your love, your empathy, and your kindness into weapons against you. They play the victim when you're just trying to protect your peace. They cry foul when you're simply trying to breathe. And slowly you begin to question yourself. Am I the selfish one? Am I being too cold? Am I abandoning someone who needs me? But let me tell you, choosing your peace over manipulation is not selfish. It's survival. These manipulators are not looking for connection. They're looking for control. They want to keep you tethered by your own goodness. And that's the cruelest trick of all, using your heart against you. That's why you have to cut them off. Not with hatred, not with vengeance, but with clarity, with finality, with a quiet, unwavering decision that your energy will no longer be a playground for their games. You don't owe loyalty to someone who's poisoning your spirit. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they deserve access to your mind and heart forever. History doesn't guarantee harmony. And guilt manipulators know this. They weaponize your past. After all I've done for you, they say, you're just going to walk away? But what they've done for you is often conditional, transactional, and laced with unspoken expectation. They help you so they can own you. They support you so they can say they built you. But love doesn't keep score. Real love doesn't ask for repayment through submission. Guilt manipulators thrive on keeping you small because your growth threatens their grip. Your confidence, your independence, your healing, it exposes their game. And they'll tighten their hold the moment they sense you waking up. That's when you have to be strongest. That's when you have to stop explaining, stop justifying, stop playing fair with someone who's only ever played to win. You don't need to announce your exit. You just need to leave. Because anyone who loves you through guilt doesn't love you at all. It's not just what guilt manipulators say. It's how they make you feel. They leave you walking on emotional eggshells, afraid to disappoint them, terrified of being labeled ungrateful or heartless. You find yourself apologizing for things that weren't wrong. You over-explain your choices, hoping they'll understand, hoping they'll stop making you feel like the villain in your own story. But they don't stop, because it's not about understanding. It's about control. The more you bend, the more they expect. The more you give, the more they take. Until one day you realize you've abandoned yourself in the name of keeping the peace. But peace built on guilt is not peace. It's a prison. And every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, you reinforce that prison's walls. Cutting off guilt manipulators means choosing your freedom over their approval. It means letting them call you cold, letting them spread their version of the story, letting them play the victim, and not flinching. Because at the end of the day, your spirit knows the truth. And that truth will always cost you something, but it will set you free. They will make you feel responsible for their happiness. They'll frame their pain as your fault, their bad choices as your burden. If you hadn't done that, I wouldn't be like this. That's their anthem. That's how they bind you, by convincing you that their emotional state is a direct consequence of your actions. And if you're empathetic, that message lands hard. You want to fix it. You want to make it right. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for how others choose to react. You are not their emotional caretaker. Guilt manipulators rely on your compassion to keep you chained. They know you're kind. They know you care. And that's why you're the perfect target.